Someone once told me, religion is for people who do not want to go to hell. Spirituality is for those who have been through hell and do not want to go back. For people in recovery or individuals struggling with addiction and other mental health issues, understanding the variations between the two can make the difference between life and death. Stick around, as today we tackle the question, what's the real difference between spirituality and religion? Today on Blue Star Wellness. Step with me into the realm of profound self-discovery and embark on an epic journey to unlock the amazing powers of your mind. Welcome to the Blue Star. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blue Star. My name is Sahoni. I am the founder and creator of Blue Star Wellness. We are a platform dedicated to your physical, spiritual, and mental health. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is our very first video. And for the topic tonight, I have something I think you will find very interesting. Earlier this week, I was speaking with someone who is struggling with their drinking. I suggested they tried AA, or Alcoholics Anonymous. They told me they would never try it. Turns out, their parents at some point in their lives dragged them to church, they hated it, and now they have a resentment against organized religion. I smiled and explained that AA was not a religious program. It is a spiritual one. Okay, so they asked, what's the difference? Well, I have so much information to share with you on this very topic. I decided to make a video covering this very question. Before we get started, just a quick disclaimer. These are just my humble opinions. I am not suggesting that one organization is superior than the other in any way. I am simply pointing out the differences between the two based on my own experiences. Fair enough? With that said, why should my opinion matter? I do have clinical experience. I have been a mental health clinician for over 5 years. I have a Master's of Science in Counseling and Addiction, and I am also a qualified mental health professional in the state of Rhode Island. So I understand the medical components of it. Secondly, I myself have struggled with substance use and addiction for many years. I have known institutions, hospitals, and jails. I have been sober and a member of Alcoholics Anonymous for over 7 years now. I have a home group, a sponsor, and I have worked the 12 steps of the program as it is laid out on the big book. Lastly, I am also part of a congregation. I attend, volunteer, and serve at a Christian church. I have been baptized, and I believe my faith is very strong. All this is to say, I think I know a little bit about the points I will be making. So with all that out of the way, let's get started. I want to tackle this topic by looking at spirituality and religion through the lenses of the two institutions I know, AA or Alcoholics Anonymous and church. I want to focus on individuals seeking help for mental health and addiction in the context of answering this question. So let's define them first. What's organized religion? It is defined as a structured system of faith or worship, especially one followed by a large number of people, such as Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. I would not insult your intellect and describe too much of what a church is, but for the purposes of this video, a church is a congregation of people who meet at a public building for the purpose of worship. What is AA? Well, let me read the AA preamble to you. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help each other to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. First, let's look at the things that they do have in common. First, they're both fellowships, meaning that they're a group of people. 2, they can technically join. Anyone can technically join if they want the same thing that the organizations offer. For example, for church, worship and relationship to God. For AA, to stay sober through a relationship with a higher power. 3, Both are spiritual organizations, which means they do require a certain level of faith for their members. 4, they encourage members to volunteer and serve within the organization. 5, both believe in a higher power that is in control. And finally, both provide guidance to a more spiritually fit lifestyle. All this means that they guide you to be a better person, help others, volunteer, live your life knowing it's not all about you. Things like that. The first difference is the level of urgency and the willing to participate in these organizations. My sponsor once told me this: religion is for those who are afraid to go to hell. Spirituality is for those who've been to hell and never want to go back. By this, I mean one thing: how desperate are people when they arrive? As someone who has seen hundreds of people come in and out of both organizations, I can tell you everyone has one thing in common. People come in either to church or AA when they're looking for a solution. For many, they may be going through financial insecurities, the loss of a loved one, or something else that usually drives them to seek religion or God, if they were not already brought up with it. In AA, however, people are usually fighting for their lives. They're looking for a solution, but the urgency tends to be greater since once alcoholics get to that point, we are usually in a lot of trouble and on all levels. This is not to say that because people come into AA more desperately that they might, if they just need a church, let's say, that the program itself is superior. But what I have seen is that because the level of urgency in an AA tends to be higher, the willingness and openness of its members usually follows suit. 2, leadership and ego. This is probably the biggest and most important point. The ego is one of the biggest enemies of the spirit. When we are self-centered, it is hard to do things for other people. Church leadership is sticky, as opposed to AA leadership, which is fluid. In church, you usually have one main pastor, a couple of supportive pastors like your youth leaders, and a group of individuals who are part of the church leadership team, whether it be in marketing or other type of managerial role. These roles are usually paid positions, so this is their actual full-time job in many cases. Because of this, they tend to be rigid, meaning they don't change much. This means that people stay in those same roles for many years. Because of this, in churches, usually the very successful and big ones, it can mean that these positions can be very lucrative. We are all familiar with the scandalous articles of pastors wearing expensive clothes and other scandals about misappropriation of church fundings. The problem with this type of leadership is not that it's wrong, it's that it does not safeguard against people's ego. I follow and respect many pastors of mega churches who I believe are great leaders and honest people. But this corporate structure on a spiritual nonprofit basis is problematic because at the very top of the organization, you have a human being, and human beings are flawed. When we follow the chain of command in any church, at the very top, you will usually find the name of a person. That name tends to be there for a while, usually until they retire or something else happens. Leadership in AA is almost completely fluid. Some positions in central services, which is kind of our headquarters, might be paid or have longer terms, but for most local groups, you do not get a penny whether you're the secretary and running a meeting or just making the coffee. Everyone is the same. Granted, these jobs do not take much effort nor require much time like those running a church, but they do require time and accountability. I've been the treasurer, coffee maker, and greeter at many meetings throughout the years. This kept me going to meetings consistently and helped me build accountability. Being fluid means the people in these positions are always changing. You are usually in one job for about 6 months, then you can move to another position or not do anything at all. Because you do not stay long in one position and because they do not come with any payment or prestige attached to them, the ones who do it are completely selfless. This type of fluid leadership does have safeguards against the ego. See what I mean? This is truly the root of the biggest problems with organized religion. It's the lack of safeguards against self-seeking and the human ego. AA did not come up with this concept. Let's illustrate this point using the US government. The Constitution, in this example, can be seen as the equivalent of AA's 12 principles. The safeguards that the US government has are called checks and balances. I will not go into too much detail here, but that's why we have 50 senators and a House of Representatives with 435 members, who are all there to make sure that the president does not have absolute power over the country. You see, power can corrupt, which is why it's smart to safeguard against total power. Institutions like monarchies or the Pope as head of the Catholic Church endorse the idea of absolute power, thus allowing for the absolute corruption of the human ego. Not to say these institutions are corrupt by being set up this way, I simply mean that they do allow for the potential of corruption with no safeguards in its structure. I believe AA does a better job than religion at allocating their power to something greater than the members of their organizations. It's not about the individual, it's about the purpose of the program. Many times we see the vision of the individual go against the mission of the organization, which brings forth the problems I just talked about. Finally, you have the opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Well, in this case, opportunity cost for religion is the potential for eternal damnation, for our souls after death to not be saved. In AA, this potential is not a question mark. We know what will happen if we don't stay sober. We go back to the hell of our own making. To AA members, the consequences of not attending are more real because they are experienced. Consequences in religion cannot be proven in real time. So they do require a higher level of faith because human beings tend to believe what they can prove and are skeptical of what cannot be proven. It's simple human psychology. In conclusion, the fundamental differences between religion and spirituality comes down to the organizational structure and how this structure can safeguard against or allow for corruption to occur. Religion allows us to take focus away from God and place it upon the individual, whether by climbing up the religious corporate ladder or having financial gains. A true spiritual program like AA focuses on God and others, never the person themselves. The selfless nature of spirituality makes us mature and strong because we don't seek recognition or redemption. Spirituality seeks healing and a real relationship with God. Again, I do not have anything negative or any bad feelings towards church or religion, but I do recognize why in today's world, being religious can be perceived as a negative thing. In the age of selfishness, victimhood, and emotional dysregulation, I believe getting out of ourselves and focusing on helping others is the best course of action for our generation. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and share. Give it a thumbs up. To schedule a mental health consultation with me, go to bluestarpeace.com. The link will be at the description below. I hope to see you guys all very soon. Thanks for watching. Until next time, if you're feeling lost, follow the Blue Star.